Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 Hats podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. This week, Jay Goltz tells Dana White and Laura Zander why he can't stop starting businesses. In recent years, despite being in his 60s, Jay has considered buying other frame shops. He's bought a firehouse that he thought he might turn into an event space or a dog kennel, and he's fantasized about opening an ice cream shop. I have a whole list of businesses I'm not starting, says Jay, who has been down this road so many times he's developed a 5-point test for whether he should proceed. And now, he's got a new idea, an online art gallery that he believes passes the test. I think I'm going to do it, he says. Plus, Dana has a new business too, and Laura assesses the damage done to the yarn industry by two venture-backed rivals. Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations will, if nothing else, let owners know they are not alone in facing challenges. Same thing with our daily newsletter, the 21 Hats Morning Report, which highlights the most important news of the day for business owners and which you can subscribe to at 21hats.com, where you can also find transcripts of our podcast episodes and lots of other articles and interviews. Joining us this week are regulars Jay Goltz, whose companies in Chicago include a picture frame business, Artist Frame Service, and a home furnishing store, Jason Home. Dana White, who is CEO of Paralee Boyd, a chain of hair salons based in Detroit. And Laura Zander, who is CEO of Jimmy Bean's Wool, a digital yarn store that is based in Reno, Nevada, and Madeline Tosh, a wholesale yarn supplier in Fort Worth, Texas. The episode is titled, My Name is Jay Goltz, and I'm an Entrepreneuraholic. Before we get started, one of the recurring themes of this podcast is that marketing is hard for smaller businesses. One reason it's hard is that we are all besieged by self-appointed digital marketing gurus who overwhelm us with outlandish promises. On the other hand, there's Steve Krull, co-founder of Be Found Online. A loyal listener to the 21 Hats podcast, Steve understands the business owners who listen to this podcast because he is one. He knows his stuff, but he's also a real person who you can have a real conversation with. And if you tell him I sent you, you can get a free consultation with Steve himself. Just shoot him an email at steve@befoundonline.com to schedule your talk. That's steve@befoundonline.com. Now on to the show. Welcome, Jay, Dana, Laura. Great to have you here. Hope you're all doing well. Jay, let's start with you. Are you feeling manic today?
Well, I'm always manic high, so it depends.
Well, especially the last couple of times I've spoken to you in the past week.
Well, let's say this. I didn't have my new wonder drug, which I just discovered, coffee. So I'm already caffeined up without it. So I'd say, yeah, I'm kind of in the zone.
The only person in America who started drinking coffee after the age of 60.
It's a miracle. Didn't know what it did. But I don't need it today. I'm naturally caffeinated generally. It's a supplement. So today I'm on my natural caffeination.
Well, you've been naturally caffeinated the last couple of times I've spoken to you, I think, because, as you've told me, you're starting a new business.
Well, I would not. Yeah, kind of. I would say here's the thing, because I've given this a lot of thought, obviously. I'm not going to expand anymore because I don't need a bunch of new employees. I certainly don't need new leases, new buildings, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to look for incremental revenue, because incremental revenue, if you don't increase your overhead, is extremely profitable. So yes, I'm starting another extension to my existing business that will provide incremental revenue that I think will prove to be very good.
It seems like a whole new business to me. I understand why it's related, but tell us what it is.
You know, I have a gallery and I have a big frame place, and the gallery is mostly corporate, and I have a retail gallery. Never have done a lot online with it. And I've realized I have a very good friend of literally 35 years who is extremely well-known and competent and professional of being an art publisher, a leader in the field, clearly. And we've been talking, and I've realized, and he's not disagreeing with me, that there certainly are some people that are selling art online, but what I've recognized is they really don't have domain expertise. They might have art history degrees and they have computer expertise, but I don't think they really, I think we can do a better job with selling art online and recreating the gallery experience. I've seen it in other industries where these people show up and they proclaim they're going to disrupt the industry, and they don't, because they don't really understand the industry, but they got some money and they've got some technology. And I think there's an opportunity here without me having to spend a ton of money. We'd have to build a new website, but then I'm splitting it with them, so it shouldn't be that expensive.
What's the name of the business?
Don't know yet. That's the one part I'm trying to navigate. I have to figure out whether we just use his existing name or whether we come up with a new name. But I'm in the thinking stages of it. But the reality is this is what I've come to realize. When things are scary as they were a year ago, you think, that's it. I'm not doing anything more. I'm not going to expose myself anymore. And then when things are good, you think, oh, I can do this again. So I've
had 100 conversations with you where you told me never again, never again, never again.
Here's the qualifier. I've looked into buying 10 different frame shops over the years that I knew were winding down, or I thought wanted to sell. Some didn't, some did. And I realized taking over another frame shop just has limited upside, and then I'm stuck with a lease or with a building, and there's no out. Whereas this is all incremental revenue without adding to my overhead. So the point is, if I bought a frame shop and could do, I don't know, $600,000-$700,000, it would make a little money. Whereas if I do $600,000, $700,000 in incremental revenue without increasing my overhead by much, it's very profitable. So it's about incremental revenue.
It's kind of not starting a new business. It's more starting a new project, right? Because you're using the same infrastructure. You're using the same staff.
Yeah, I would say that.
Are you going to get a new corporation?
I don't know yet, but all I know is you can't get an ice cream soda in Chicago anymore. So I thought about, I got to open up an ice cream place, and I thought about it for a couple of days, but I'm off of that. I'm not going to open up an ice cream place. So that would be an example of a business. I have a whole list of businesses I'm not starting. I was going to open a dog kennel because dog kennels are hot now.
You bought a firehouse.
Well, that was part. I bought the firehouse, and I realized it would be perfect for a dog kennel because it's on the way to the airport. And I really did some homework on it. I thought about it. I had a good time. And then I realized I really don't need to run a dog kennel. I have been consistent with, I think about it. I have a good time for a few days. I've had to tell my kid, because only your kid would say this to you, 10 years ago, he's been here for 12 years now. I would come up with an idea and he would immediately squash it. And I said to him at one point, I go, could you let my idea just break its little beak through the shell a little bit, get a couple of breaths of air before you stomp on it with your foot? Because only your kid would say, that's a dumb idea, it's not going to work. But he wasn't wrong. I've just realized, though, I enjoy doing it. I give it a few days and then I come to my senses. This one is in my wheelhouse.
All right. I want to come back to you in a second. But Dana, you're starting a new business too.
I have started a new business. Yes, sir.
Tell us about it.
So a couple of years ago, Michigan legalized cannabis. And my partner and I have decided to put our...
Business partner or your fiance?
My fiance. Yeah. So he and I, during the pandemic, decided, why don't we try this? And so our parents have pain. My mom has back pain. His father has, some pain and trouble sleeping. And so, I have my Michigan medical marijuana license. So I'm a licensed caregiver and sign them up as patients. And so we know people in this space who are processors and, people who own dispensaries. And so we, decided to share our tea, our actual liquid tea that you just drink out of a 2-ounce bottle that helps. And we're getting so much great feedback from people who say, I had an ounce of your tea and I finally slept throughout the night. I haven't slept in years. My back pain, I was able to wait 20 minutes and man, I wasn't, limited. I could get up, carry groceries in the house, go to the store and all of that. So we've decided to launch the Lit Leaf is what we're calling it. It's a 2-ounce tea. We have 18-ounce bottles. And right now we're only in Michigan because cannabis is not a federally legal substance.
Do you think it could help me stop opening businesses?
No, there's really nothing for that, Jay.
You need a stronger drug for that, Jay.
And did you watch that movie, I Care a Lot?
Oh, yeah. I saw that. I did see that movie.
Oh my God. I'm so glad you're a caregiver. I can't wait to see how this turns out.
No, I mean, it's not caregiver in the sense of, a nurse or a doctor. It's just, when pills are starting to take an adverse effect on people's bodies, they turn to more holistic methods. I know my mother, it has a whole cabinet full of pills. And she's like, I can't. It's just, if it's one pill for this and another pill for this and then another pill for this. And now she just takes a shot of tea and she's good to go.
How are you selling it? Are you opening a store?
We're actually, no. So we aren't selling it now. What we're doing is we're looking to license our brand to a processor. We've been meeting with processors to talk about what that process would look like. And then they get a percentage off of the bottom end based on the purchase order. So we don't pay them up front. We get a purchase order for so many dispensaries, and then they take a percentage off of that purchase order for their work. They're bottling it in.
Can I ask a more personal question?
Sure.
Kind of. So your partner, your fiance, was a cop, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you reconcile? And I mean, I think this might have business application, but the world changes, the laws change. And so at some point this was criminalized, and I'm assuming he's written some tickets.
Not at all. We totally had this conversation.
So tell me about it.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, exactly.
So he's a retired police officer, and we had this conversation, and his thing was, first, it's legal. It's legal. And he said, as a cop, I wasn't the cop who wrote you a ticket for it. I took it from you and I disposed of it. But he goes, in all of my years of being a police officer, I had more people got more issues from people with drunk driving and abusing alcohol than I did. I've never had to pull someone over for erratically driving or being disruptive from being on canvas. And after a couple of years on the force, I noticed that and said, you know what? He said, as a personal choice, if I pulled over and I smelled it, I would ask them about it. As long as they were upfront with me, they would give me whatever they have and I would take it. And that was it. And I let them go because it wasn't as deadly as I saw the adverse effects of alcohol and other hardcore substances.
So the stuff that he took, is that what you guys are starting your business from?
Absolutely not. Not at all.
Kidding.
That went into the evidence locker and never seen from again.
I'm just kidding.
No, you're not kidding.
Because I have my medical marijuana license, we had dabbled with growing here, but we have partnered with people who can supply the THC needed for our tea, because you can't, grind up a flower and put it in. You have to, turn that into another form. And so that's what we had done, and we made the tea. I was having serious issues with anxiety, and that's how I'm not a cannabis smoker. I don't like it. I think it hurts, and I just don't like it. But my fiance would bake a cake for me, or he would give me a gummy right before bed, and I would sleep through the night versus waking up at 3:00 in the morning, pacing through the pandemic, wondering what I was going to do. So we made this tea, and here it is.
God, I'm feeling a little stupid that I just discovered coffee and that's my new drug. And you're like way ahead of me.
And that you're going to sell art online.
Yeah. So we don't know how we're going to sell it. It might be a beverage that is in dispensaries all around the country, or it may not be. But it doesn't hurt to try.
Can you serve it at Paralee Boyd?
Absolutely not. And I wouldn't even if I could.
Oh.
Because?
It's just not the brand.
Channel conflict. Not good.
Yeah, I don't want it elevated. First of all, we have no information on the people who come in. So if you're 21, we don't know. Second of all, I don't want to offer an elevated hair care experience. I just want to do your hair and have you go partake on your own if you choose.
Have you thought about how much time, energy, and money that you want to sink into this?
Absolutely. I've sunk in a bit of our own money because of the patients I have. They have paid me for some of the cakes and stuff that we have. So that was how we were able to get our bottles and our labels and design our logo. And so what we've done is that it's been small, and we've just taken it and developed a few bottles here and given those away, and it developed a few more bottles here and given those away. And so we've partnered with a cannabis lounge here in Detroit. And that was like our first order where, he ordered more than just a few, and we, he gave us a donation, and we were like, okay, great, here you go, just so we can kind of test the market. As far as the time portion of it, I know had this happened 8 years ago, it would have been different. I'm just a savvier business owner now, and there's some of the things just come easily to me. Having conversations and understanding what we want to do to grow the business. I spend less time figuring it out. I do spend some time doing it because, it's cannabis, it's a new industry, but the business processes are the same. Ron, my partner, he's very strong in the actual cultivation. He's strong in the actual recipe making. He's strong with that. So we combine. So it's not just all Dana when it comes to networking and making the relationships. I've been the one on Clubhouse speaking to people in cannabis rooms, introducing myself, talking about the tea, and making, connections that way. That's it.
Have you trademarked and patented or, whatever?
Nope.
I mean, what do you got to do that way?
No, because it's not a legal substance federally. So if you're going to patent and trademark anything in cannabis, you can only do it in the state.
Oh.
People have done it federally, but we're finding that the U.S. government is finding out that it's a cannabis company and they're revoking their trademark.
The theme here that I kind of wanted to focus on is kind of the question of, when is enough enough? And you all have your hands full. Laura, I don't want to leave you out of this. You kind of took your leap more than a year ago when you bought another business, a related business, but another business in Texas. And we've spent a lot of the last year talking about all the things you've been through trying to turn that business around. Do you ever stop and wonder what would have happened if you'd put that time, energy, and money into Jimmy Bean's wool instead of buying another business?
Sure. I wonder it for a second, but I am 100%, maybe I'm 99% sure that this was the right decision because we had been putting our time and our energy into Jimmy Bean's. So I think this was the best way to expand. 100%. No doubt. I think that there's like a limit unless we decided we wanted to go kind of the discounting route and or do some other things. I think this is the best way for us to actually grow Jimmy Bean's, and it's working.
The key is what Dana said. When you become competent, which takes years, when you get good at this, it's right in your wheelhouse. It's like I said, it's not like I went and opened an ice cream shop, though I could open an ice cream shop and I could get it open. I doubt that the return would be there that would make me happy with it. But the point is, we'll
be talking about Jay's ice cream shop in a year.
Well, no, it'll be called Jason Cafe. It's what it's going to be called. I mean, if I did it. You want to see the logo?
No.
So the point is, once you're good at it, and then you mitigate your risk, because I think there's a limit to what any of us would put into something. I'm not going to bet the ranch. I'm not even going to come close to betting the ranch in anything. But
can you tell us what you're prepared to invest?
I don't know. Prepared's a good word. I haven't thought about it that much. I don't know. I'll probably put $100,000 into it. And it's not going to make or break me. And frankly, this is entrepreneurial thinking. If it doesn't work, okay, you take a tax deduction for the money you spent on it. So now it's really going to cost $65,000. I got to tell you, the idea of this is where my head's changed a little bit. I like doing this. This is like you see guys that spend their entire years after 60 chasing their golf score. And if that's what makes someone happy, it makes them happy. It makes me happy starting businesses.
Let me ask you this. I think you might be underestimating how much effort it will take to get this off the ground.
Well, that's there's no question. That's my story.
Building a website? Tell us about that. I mean,
first of all, you're absolutely guilty as charged. I've always underestimated. There's no question about it. But we've just built a new Jason Home website. I've gone through all of the trials and tribulations of hiring developers and being disappointed with what they come up with. And
you didn't have a lot of fun doing that.
No, it was horrible, but I learned from it. And I haven't, in fact, ran this past my son, who's in charge of it yet, so he can squash me. But he's gotten really good at figuring out how to do it. So I'm not sure. I also have to tell you, I'm not 100% sure I'm doing it, but I'm moving towards it.
If you build a website to sell fine art, expensive art, it's got to be a very nice website.
Sure. But
I don't know. I think, Lauren, I'm going to disagree with you. I think that's the easiest. That's going to be one of the easier parts of it. I don't see this as being, this is so aligned with what you already do, Jay.
Right. And I've got so many assets to leverage. Keep in mind, my friend's got a gallery. I have a gallery. My friend makes the art already. He already makes the art. I already have frame.
It's just another channel.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's another channel. This is like he's got the car and I got the gas. I mean, we're the perfect fit together. Yeah. And like, he's my brother. I mean, I've been tight with him for literally since I met him at a trade show. You know, I was a kid at a trade show. I was 22 years old, 23 years old, going to trade shows. He's a year younger than me. I've been tight with them for 35 years. And we finally both realized the world has changed a lot. And a lot of the galleries have gone out. And the fact is, there's still people that want to buy quote unquote real art, whatever that is to them. And we think there's an opportunity. So I don't know. Like I said, here's the key. I'm having a really good time planning this out. Whether I do it or not, we'll see. I think I'm going to do it though.
You probably have employees that would really love, something new to work on. And
not just love it, but I've got my key person who runs my art business. I would like her to be able to make some more money. So no, it's
you get the website built. How are you going to market it? How are you going to tell the world?
You already have 50,000 people. I mean, you already have.
I can't give away all my trade secrets right now, Lauren.
Yeah. Well, and if you think, to me, you could easily spend $100,000 going to 2 trade shows. So which has the benefit or which has the biggest reward?
Right. He used to go to the New York Art Expo and was the busiest booth there. And that whole model is blown up. The art business, most of you wouldn't know this, most of the world, the whole art world's been blown up for 20 years. The world's changed dramatically, but I believe that we have the core competencies and expertise to go ahead and pull this off. Do I think it's going to turn into a $50 million year business? No, I don't need it to turn into a $50 million year business. That's the beauty of this. If it's $1 million a year and it's incremental business, everybody's happy. So I'm in the beginning stages of it. Well, like I said,
I was going to ask, do you have a set of questions you ask yourself before you decide to take a leap like this?
Thank you for asking. Here they are. 5 things. And I believe this works in I'll ask Laura and Dana to think about this in your businesses. First question, what kind of upside does this have? You know what? Opening a ice cream shop, there's just no big upside. So that's why that finishes that one. But this has enough upside. I don't know. I could do some serious business with it, but it's got good upside. Number 2, what's it going to cost to launch it? I'm not going to put $500,000 into anything at this point. This is not going to cost that kind of money. Okay. Number 3, what if things go bad? Can I get out of it? Signing a lease, buying a building, problem here? Okay, done. Finished. I can literally pull the plug on it anytime. Number 4, is this going to be a pain in the ass business? Is this going to require a ton of employees? No, I've already got the infrastructure in place, so there's not going to be a lot of extra employees. And lastly, and this is really the killer piece, that when I hear professors talking about, the odds of succeeding in business are X%, that's crazy. The odds of getting to the MBA are much better if you're 7 foot tall and you're extremely athletic. Well, the odds of succeeding if you've got some assets to leverage. So the 5th question is, do you have some special expertise or things to leverage to give you an advantage in the marketplace? And in that case, absolutely. I'm the leader in the framing industry for 40 some years. He's a leader in the art business for 40 some years. We know what we're doing. We've got warehouses, we've got showrooms, we've got some computer expertise. So there's something to leverage. Whereas if I went in the ice cream business, what do I got? I mean, I'll run a nicer store, but it's not like I'm, making the ice cream in the back. So I could go through, So that's the criteria. And this hits all 5 of them.
But in all the other criteria, do you have time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You may have everything, but do you have the time to dedicate? How much time suck is this going to be? But because you have so many things in place, you don't have to go out and look for, a gallery. You don't have to go out and try to find new employees. Everything is already lined up. So it narrows down your time. Same thing with the business that we were doing. We were already making it. It's easy to make. It was already in line with what we're doing.
And Tehran is retired. He's got time.
He's retired. Yeah.
Put Dana through your 5-point test.
Okay, let's try it. Okay, number 1, what kind of upside?
Number 1.
Sounds like, who knows? Sounds like there could be some good upside to this if she gets it out there and brands it and a lot of people buy it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. First, they've already started talking to me about the first African-American cannabis beverage maker.
Great. Okay, number 2. She's not buying a factory. She's not starting a factory. There's no huge, you're not putting $300,000 into this. It's a minimal. Okay, number 2. Okay, number 3, you're not going to have to hire 20 people to do this. It's not going to be a big pain. If you decide, oh, this isn't as easy as I thought, boom, you pull the plug on it. You're not going to, you don't have any commitments. And lastly, do you have any expertise that other people don't have? Well, the fun part of that in her case is no one really does at this stage. It's a new industry. So she's got as good a shot as anybody. And she also has a good story to tell. And she's got some good business skills she's picked up doing the other business. So she's got, it's not like completely out of left field. So it fits all my 5 things. And my argument is if it doesn't hit one of the 5, probably not good. If it didn't hit one of my 5, any one of those 5 things would take it out of the mix for me. And look at Laura with buying the company that makes yarn. I would say it fit all 5 things in that.
Laura, do you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yours has the pain in the ass piece a little bit. Like you do have a lot of new employees, but it's worth it because this fits your business really well. And this isn't like this really supports your business. So it's worth the pain because it supports your core business. So
it's 20% of our core business came from this company. And then 20% of this company's business came from the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's super, there are a lot of synergies.
Right. Synergy, leverage, symbiotic relationship, got all those good words in there.
Yep. And we already have as you said, the expertise. And that's, it's funny that you say that, but where we are excelling is in the areas that we have expertise and experience, which is the marketing, the sales, the communication, the customer service. And where we're struggling is the area that's brand new to us, which is manufacturing. And operations.
But you're figuring it out.
We're figuring it out.
I've noticed that business owners, will start a business and then start another business that's unrelated and justify it by calling it, multiple streams of income. And those are the business owners that I really question why they're doing it. And because they've heard some GIF or read some quote on Facebook or social media that says, a true business person has multiple streams of income. If I was restarting another business like Paralee Boyd that I couldn't do from my home, I needed to lease a space, I've got to hire employees, they all have to be licensed, all of that, then that to me isn't smart. And if it takes just as much time, I need 48 hours in a day versus 24 because of all the time I give to Paralee Boyd. Having multiple streams of income, in my humble opinion, only works when that other stream of income complements what you're already doing, or it's so easy to do based on what you've learned. You're not losing any sleep over it. Like I'm not doing the tea thing. It's a couple conversations, sending a couple emails. It's maybe 2, maybe 3 hours, if that. You got to be careful, because this podcast sounds like, oh yeah, do other stuff.
No, I'm not telling anyone they should do that. It's like if something, but I got to tell you, a banker once told me, and he was dead serious when he told me this. He said most entrepreneurs that they deal with eventually think they need to open a restaurant and then they lose a lot of money on it. And I laughed out loud and I go, oh, I'm glad I didn't tell him about my cafe idea that I had because I did. I've gone through that in my head and I've talked myself out of it because I know it's going to be a pain. So it's not a matter of needing to do it. It's a matter of wanting to do it.
Well, then that's a whole different thing too.
It's my hobby.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not all about money.
Right. So, Lauren, you may remember that like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, we decided to expand by going into selling fabric. So, I had read all these books and we had thought, and I had these friends that, he ran a company that sold and produced both yarn and fabric by the yard for quilters and sewers. And so, I had read everything about how you find your customer and then figure out what else you can sell to that customer. It's
called horizontal integration.
Yes. And the statistic out there was that 50% or 46% of knitters are also sewists. They also quilt or they sew dresses or whatever. So I'm like, oh, slam dunk, right? So we invested, it was probably $100,000 or more. And we learned a really, really hard lesson that the way people shop, they either shop with knitting in mind and or they go shop with sewing in mind and they want a sewing shop for the most part. Like if you are in a really small town or, you're going to Joann's and maybe you're kind of crafting across the board. But anyway, it didn't work. And part of why it didn't work goes to what Dana was saying or I guess what Lauren was asking is, we should have been spending that time and that money developing and strengthening our core business of knitting as opposed to trying to expand out into something else. And so we were spread way too thin. So the knitting business took a hit.
Well, what was the main reason it didn't work?
That's a good question. There were probably...
Let me guess. One was the branding got a little confusing. You just said it. They're no
Sure.
longer the knitting place. And two is there's other people in that industry that probably knew what they were doing better than you did.
100%. And that they were 100% dedicated to it.
Yeah. I mean, my businesses are all, you'll think about it, they're all related. They're all in the home design field. They're all got an artistic side to it. They are connected by design.
Well, let me ask you this, Jay. That makes perfect sense. I think you're absolutely right. The thing I stumble on a little bit is that I think selling online is tricky. It's not something that necessarily comes naturally to you personally. You've done very well selling Jason Home online, and I'm curious.
Well, I've learned lessons from that. First of all, I'm not suggesting I'm an online expert by any way, shape, or form, but I'm suggesting that that business is not just it's not like selling T-shirts online. And I believe that our expertise of having 2 showrooms and having expertise of finding artists and developing artists and framing the pictures and shipping it is a large part of the equation. So while the people out there clearly have more expertise on the web than we do, they've got venture capital, most of them. They got 40 people working there probably that are doing the web stuff. They don't have the other pieces necessarily. So it could end up being that, oh, gee, I overestimated how easy it was going to be to break into that.
I don't think so.
Right. I don't have a lot of overhead. Like I said, I've got all the pieces in place to run the business part of it. So I just got to get the website done.
Yeah. And Lauren, I would agree with you 10 years ago, but I really think like the barrier to entry and building a site, it's just so easy now.
Well, I don't know if it's easy. It's easier.
It's so much easier, and you already have a customer base, that you can start to pull from.
The basic decision first, I think, is, are you building a site from scratch or are you going to Shopify? Do you know the answer to that?
I got this from one of your expert people on that said Shopify is the way to go. And yeah, we'll probably do it on Shopify. And I literally have not talked to my kid about this yet. So I assume, I don't want to get stomped on yet. I'm giving it a few days of fun before I tell him. But no, I probably will be Shopify. But that's not the only piece. And you have to remember, I have no other, all of the people, I have no other expenses. I'm already here. I've got all the infrastructure in place. All I got to do is fund the website.
See, that's not my experience. I struggle a little bit with selling online right now. Like I have products and our numbers are very bleak. So for me, it's selling online and then marketing.
No, you'd have to spend the money. And
yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
I wasn't on that episode when you talked about marketing. You were going to spend that's not a lot of money, spending $50,000 for marketing. I would put more money into it. I'm not saying I won't put some money into it. I'll have to put some money into the quote unquote marketing of it, no question. That would be part of the formula. I'm not suggesting I'm going to do this and all I got to do is fund the website. No, I got to get the website built and I have to do some marketing. But you got to remember, I'm splitting it in 2 now, and it's not going to cost either of us that much. And we believe that there's an opportunity in the marketplace right now because think of your hometown, half the galleries around have gone out of business. I mean, there's not a lot of places to buy art these days.
Laura, Jay mentioned possibly having to compete with businesses that are venture-backed. That's something you've been doing. I'm curious, what's your thinking about that these days? How is that affecting you?
You're talking about original art, right? So you're not going to have 10 different people who are selling the same piece?
Right. It's going to be, exactly. It's going to be proprietary. We're going to have our own artists and our own art, yes.
So sure, the venture-backed guys are going to end up having more marketing power and can drive more traffic, but you can't compare.
No, there's some beautiful sites out there for art right now. Beautiful sites.
For us, it's the VC money. I don't know. I mean, part of me is just like, it is what it is, and we just have to live with it and let it kind of pass through. But the brat in me gets really frustrated that we've had now 2 major venture-backed companies come into this yarn industry space. And they've brought in, God, I don't know, between the 2 of them, $150 million probably in funding. And so if you think about it this way, they've been able to funnel $150 million, or let's say $100 million into our suppliers' pockets, which has been great. So it's been really good for all the yarn manufacturers because, they've been able to fulfill these big orders. But then they go out and they're putting all this stuff on their websites and selling it for, not much over cost. They're making zero profit. Between the two of them, they've done hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm sure, in sales, and they're not profitable sales. So now all of a sudden, if you think about the average yarn store is doing a couple $100,000 in sales, that money has to come from somewhere. And so it's really destroyed, the landscape and the number of small independent yarn shops, which for our industry, where that causes a problem is that now you don't have a bunch of shops that cater to customers and that teach people how to knit and help elevate their skills and create community. And so then that means that the industry itself is kind of dying out in some ways. It'll be fine. It is what it is. We're adapting, all those things.
Let's not say dying out. It's suffering as frame shops have suffered, but it will be back. And maybe not where it was,
totally.
but once the landscape...
It'll be different.
Right, because the people that are going in with the big money are not going to be successful enough to keep putting money into it. They'll eventually go away.
And one of them has already gone away. And then, the other one...
It's happened in the frame business. I've watched some big money people get in the frame business, and it ain't working.
Running stores, is kind of running in guitar stores. Doug plays the guitar and then I run. So you see the same thing kind of happening there with Guitar Center. And then you've got the other running shops and you lose that community.
When they decide to go away, they decide it's not working. What's not working?
Because there's no money.
They're not getting the return on investment. The industry's smaller than they thought it was.
It's just not worth it. The industry's just not that big.
And that's the mistake they made.
The framing industry is a very similar size, and we've seen the same thing in it. The big money came into it, and it's not working because the industry wasn't big enough.
And it's the same pattern that we've seen for years and years and years. You look on Wired magazine or you look at Fast Company or Inc. Magazine, and everybody that's on the cover, it's these shiny object business. They bring all this money in. They've got this great platform. They sell all this crap. They're not making a profit, and they're creating this pattern and this kind of business model that all these other people who don't have the money try to emulate, but they don't realize that they're not profitable models.
Absolutely. It's happening all over the place.
Dana, like with, Dry Bar? Who knows? Maybe they're super, super profitable and everything is really great with Dry Bar.
Do you know, Dana?
No, go ahead. Yeah, I do. But go ahead, Laura. I'm going to hear what you want to say.
Well, it just, then you see all of these kind of copycats. Like in Reno, we're not big enough to have a Dry Bar, but we have a blow dry bar and we have a, all these other kinds of copycat ones. And you never see anybody in them. It's like the cupcake places. That's really popular for a little while and everybody's doing cupcakes.
Sex and the City had that famous cupcake place in New York. So everybody thought, we're going to do one of those.
Yes.
So this is the thing. And so about it's such a great topic about the VC dollars is because I just think the VC dollars are misguided as to what the bright new shiny thing is. It's not that bright. It's not that shiny. What frustrates me is that they're not looking at businesses like mine that I believe are revolutionizing or, innovating in an industry that's already there. For example, to me as a VC, I would be interested in investing in a business like mine. Why? Because I already see how much money women with thick and curly hair are spending on products, but there is no data about how much women are spending on getting their hair done. Why not? Because the industry is not tapped and the people who have the money don't really care about the spending habits of Black women getting their hair done. It is a multi-billion-dollar business that nobody is paying attention to. And Dana is the only walk-in only 7-day-a-week hair salon. And so, but they're going to go to the low-hanging fruit.
But these venture guys don't go out of business because they've hit the home run 1 out of 4, 5, 6 times, and it makes up for all the other losses.
Yeah.
If they were so stupid, they wouldn't be in business. These guys have gotten rich from it. So I'm not criticizing them. It's just the nature of the beast that they're wrong a lot of times, but they make it up when they hit the big one.
But they could be wrong less. They would be wrong less if they got out of their box and stopped only investing in what they know and start looking at what they didn't know.
I don't know how to reconcile this in my brain because it's capitalism. It is what it is. At the same time, the damage that it does to the ecosystem, in terms of just not trying to make a profit but instead just trying to build a customer list so that then you can sell this customer list and just focusing on revenue is really, really damaging. That is a real problem, and there are some great benefits to it. I mean, it's a lot of money that has been injected into our industry, a lot of designers, like I said, the suppliers have gotten paid really well, but what's going to happen is they're going to go away. And then we've got all this shit we're going to have to clean up because now we don't have these shops. They've put so many people out of business through this lower priced model. It's the Amazon thing. I don't know what you do about it. I was in Fort Worth the other day and I realized that now I was in this like little cute trendy kind of area with these cute pizza shops and these cafes and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, this is the new strip mall, right? Because now I could be in any city in the country and they have one of these cute little areas that has like the trendy yoga shop and the trendy coffee shop and blah, blah, blah. So it's this response to the strip malls. So I feel like, we're really trying to turn back and find this balance between mom and pop and convenient shopping online. But it doesn't have to be discount shopping. I don't know.
No, they're going to have margins to stay in business. It's happened in the frame industry, and there's plenty of healthy, successful picture frame shops in America. A lot less than there used to be, but the fact is, it was called out. There were 25,000 frame shops. Now there's 8. Well, the 8,000 that are left are the people who are being better business people. And I feel very strongly the framing industry, it's certainly not a big growth industry, but it's solid and it's going to stay in business. And I'm sure the same thing is true with the yarn industry because people want to go into the local yarn shop. Enough people do.
Jay, you were saying a moment ago that there are a number of beautiful websites selling beautiful art that you presumably will have to compete with. Why isn't that a concern to you?
Because it's a big enough market that I believe I can give a better value proposition to the customer that will get our piece of it. You'll never hear me use the phrase, "Oh, we're going to disrupt the market." Oh, please. Most people that use that phrase, they disrupt the bank accounts of their investors, and that's about the only disruption that goes on. I mean, I'm not suggesting I'm disrupting the market. I'm suggesting that given our overheads, given our exposure, given our expertise, I don't think it's crazy to think we could do $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million a year out of a market, and that's not a lot.
My thanks to Jay Goltz, Dana White, and Laura Zander. As always, thanks for sharing, guys. I really appreciate it. Wait, don't leave yet. If you have a question or a comment that you'd like the 21 Hats owners to address, send it to me by replying to your morning report or by email at lauren@21hats.com. That's LOREN @21hats.com. Do it now before you forget. And don't be afraid to tell Jay what you really think. You can take it. And if you got something out of this conversation, help us reach more business owners. Tell a friend. Subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the Morning Report at 21hats.com. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Okay, now you can leave. Thanks for listening, everyone.